Hi everyone, I'm Susan Mulvihill. Happy New Year! So I'm up in my office today because I have some really exciting things to show you. The first thing is I can finally show you exactly what's in my new book. And then I have a very cool announcement to make. But first I want to show you what's going on outside, which is another reason why I'm inside. Yep, we've got a snowstorm going on outside, and many snowy days ahead of us. So it's a good day to be indoors. So some of you have already seen the cover of my new book, but if you haven't, it's the Vegetable Garden Pest Handbook, and the subtitle is Identify and Solve Common Pest Problems on Edible Plants. All of the information inside on controlling certain types of pests is organic because that is so important, and there are so many effective ways to control pests without using chemicals. The book is going to come out April 6th of 2021, so not too much longer, and the publisher is Cool Springs Press. I've written for them before and they are awesome to work with. So this is what I worked on during the pandemic, and why not? I don't think I could have come up with a better timing on that, but it's the only good thing about the pandemic, right? Before we start looking at what's inside the book, I did want to mention that even though the title says the Vegetable Garden Pest Handbook, there's a huge carryover of the information for flower gardening as well. So many of the pests I profiled for the book are also problems for ornamental gardeners, such as aphids, cutworms, earwigs, grasshoppers, leafhoppers, leaf miners, pillbugs and sowbugs, slugs and snails, spider mites, thrips, and whiteflies. That information, along with my suggestions for how to help your plants thrive and organic methods for controlling pests, is applicable to so many types of gardening. Now, as we get started, I wanted to show you the photo that I took that is across from the table of contents. So this is a praying mantis, of course, and the caption says, "This praying mantis is ready to help you with troublesome insect pests." Now, I wish I'd had more room in that caption because I should also say that they are opportunists and they will eat anything that holds still long enough for them to catch them. But I love praying mantids, and I thought it was a good way to start off the book. So here is the table of contents, and I'm going to zoom in on it in just a moment. But I think as we're looking through this, you will agree that the sheer volume of information that's in this book is awesome. Yeah, I know I'm not impartial, but this book represents so much information that I have been wanting to share with you so that you can garden successfully. So I'm very excited about it and very proud of it. So let's look at what's in the book. Chapter 1's title is Introduction to Organic Pest Management in the Vegetable Garden. And in it I write about all of the things that are so easy for you to do in your own garden so that your plants are healthy, they thrive, and they're more likely to withstand a pest attack should it happen. So there is a ton of information in there. Chapter 2 is called Meet the Bugs, and it really is the meat of the book, no pun intended. And that's because this is the section that you're going to go back to time and again when you're trying to figure out what is munching on your veggie plants. The first thing you'll find is a huge table that helps you diagnose the problem, and I'll show you that in detail in just a moment. From there, you go to the pest profiles. And so I want to tell you which insects I've profiled in here. And then you'll see a couple of examples of specific pest profiles. So aphids, asparagus beetle, beet armyworm, blister beetle, cabbage looper, cabbage worm, carrot rust fly, Colorado potato beetle, corn earworm, cucumber beetle, cutworm, diamondback caterpillar, earwig, flea beetles, grasshopper, harlequin bug, Japanese beetle, leafhopper, leaf miner, lygus bug, Mexican bean beetle, pillbug and sowbug, root maggot, slug and snail, spider mite, squash bug, squash vine borer, stink bug, thrips, tomato hornworm, and that will also include tobacco hornworm, by the way, whiteflies, and wireworms. So you can tell that is a lot of information, and we'll look at the specific profiles in just a sec. And then it's followed up with a chart of beneficial insects. I felt it was so important for you to be able to identify them in your garden, to understand a little bit about what they prey on in your garden, and also how to attract them to your garden. So all of that is very important information. Chapter 3 is called Organic Pest Management Products and DIY or Do-It-Yourself Pest Control Projects. I felt it was really important to give you detailed information about the different types of organic pest products that are out there and available to you. The interesting thing is that just because it says organic on the label, that doesn't mean that there aren't some potential problems or risks in using some of the products. And so I wanted to give you enough information so you could make the best decision possible. Some of the products I looked at are toxic to bees and other pollinators. Some are toxic to fish and aquatic wildlife, and some are toxic to animals. So I really wanted to give that information to you. So this first half of the chapter is about the pest control products. And this includes Bacillus thuringiensis, or BT as we all know it, beneficial nematodes, diatomaceous earth, horticultural oil, insecticidal soaps, kaolin clay, neem, plant extracts, pyrethrins, row covers, slug baits, and spinosad. The second part of chapter 3 is the DIY pest control projects. And that was great fun because there are a lot of things you can make yourself that will control pests, and they're very simple to do. And then I have a few projects in there that are a little meatier, as I like to call them, but ones that will add to your gardening enjoyment. So in this part of the chapter, I wrote about how to make beer traps, a carrot rust fly screen, copper tape to keep slugs away from plants, cucumber beetle traps, cutworm collars, earwig traps, an insect hotel to attract beneficial insects to your garden so they'll help you out, a raised bed with a row cover top, that is really cool, reflective plastic mulches that keep certain types of insects away from your plants, row cover hoops to support row covers, and yellow sticky traps. And there's even more information in the back of the book. One of the things that I'm really tickled about is the insect mugshot section. That was an idea I came up with. And what I was envisioning was that, let's say you're out in your garden, you come across an insect and you think, whoa, I have no idea what that is. Is it something I should step on? Or is it something that I should leave alone? And to be honest, it tends to be more of the latter because there are so many beneficial insects in our gardens. So I wanted to give you a little photo gallery where you could flip through photos because you probably don't know the name of what the insect is. Look at the photos until you come across what you actually have found in your garden, and then it will refer you to the page that gives you the information on what the insect is, whether it's good or bad, what to do about them, and so on. There's also a reference guide, so lots more information than what's in the book. I wanted to point you in the right direction. There are insect identification keys, sources and supplies, information about me, my acknowledgments to the awesome people who helped me put this book together, and of course an index. Okay, now let's look at the actual stuff in the book. But I really wanted to make sure you knew what's in here because I haven't been able to tell you till now, and I think you'll agree that this is a lot of great information. So here's the beginning of chapter 1, and I'm just showing you that photo because those were a bunch of paste tomatoes I grew a couple of years ago, and I defy you to look at that photo and not have your mouth water, especially this time of year. We're all missing tomatoes, right? So here's the start of chapter 1, and one thing I wanted to clarify is these bright borders that I've put around each page are not within the book, in case you're looking at this thinking, holy cow, that's too bright. I just did that because you're looking at individual pages away from the book, and I was trying to dress them up a little bit for you. But anyway, as I mentioned earlier in chapter 1, I talk about all of the really simple and usually free things that you can do in order to have the best success at growing vegetables. A lot of them are cultural practices, so things you can do to keep those plants healthy and better able to withstand pest attacks. Also in chapter 1 is information on how you can identify insects, whether it has to do with using a hand lens to better see the details of their body so you can better identify them, different types of sources you can use online, using your phone, and so on to identify what the insect is, because that is key. You really need to know what you're dealing with before you make a decision, because again, there are so many beneficial insects. You really want to know what you're looking at. In this case, that is a ground beetle, and they are super beneficial. Here's more information on identifying insects. And in this case, did you know that that is the larval stage of a ladybug? They look kind of creepy, a little bit scary, but boy do they love to eat aphids. Now we're in chapter 2. And I mentioned earlier about the massive table that I created in order to help you diagnose what is dining on your vegetable plants. In this case, we've got the artichoke plant, which family it belongs to, and then all of the different types of things you might see happening to your plants. And for each one, it suggests the insect that's probably the culprit. And sometimes it might be more than one potential culprit. And each of these will go to the pest profile for that insect. And I did want to clarify those X's have since been replaced with page numbers. You're looking at kind of an early version of my book. But I covered all kinds of vegetable plants, and I think this is going to be a great tool for you to figure out what's happening in your garden. Here's a continuation of the table. Asparagus with different types of problems that you might be seeing on them, and the insects that are likely the culprits. And then beans. Boy, do they get a lot of insects targeting both the plants, the flowers, the pods, and all kinds of insects listed here, which will take you to the pest profiles. So here's an example of one of the pest profiles. This one in particular is for the imported cabbage worm. And what I wanted to do for each of the pest profiles is to have pictures of the different life stages of an insect, because a lot of times you might see the adult but not know what the larva looks like. Maybe you see eggs and you don't know what those look like. So anything that I could fit into the pest profiles that I felt would be helpful are in here. There's also illustrations with a size reference, so that also helps. There's the Latin name on there, a description of them. You can see here's the adult cabbage butterfly, the life cycle they go through, the vegetable crops they're typically seen on. So here's the second page of the cabbage worm profile. That photo on the left shows typical damage. That is so helpful because a lot of times we're seeing damage, we're not seeing the insect, and it can help you narrow down who is causing the problem. And then on the photo on the right, that is what the cabbage worm looks like. There's also signs of their activity, what to look for, who their natural predators are. That is very important. And then here is a list of organic controls for dealing with those nasty pests. Want to see another pest profile? Well, here's one for the squash bug, and boy, are they a problem. So once again, there's the illustration with a size reference, the Latin name, the description, their life cycle, and so here is an adult squash bug. Let's look at page 2. So this is what the eggs of a squash bug look like, and here is the nymph stage. And then again, they're typically seen on these crops listed here. Here's signs of their activity, their natural predators, and organic controls. Now we're in chapter 3, and I was telling you earlier how the first half of it is where I describe the different types of organic products that are available to you. And I have to say my all-time favorite product is the row cover. Those work so great. So I give you information on how they work, how to use them, what types of plants would be okay to use them with, and so on. Here's another description of an organic product called diatomaceous earth. Many of you are familiar with it, and a lot of people have never heard of it, but that is a great product, and so I give you information on how to use it, a couple little cautionary things, and I think that you'll find that that is a good tool to use in the garden. You'll recall that the second half of chapter 3 is the DIY projects. And so I wanted to show you the one that I put together for building an insect hotel, and it gives you background on them, why you would want one in your garden, and they are really cool, I have to tell you. And then there's a supply list, a list of the different types of habitat filler you might consider using in it to attract certain types of beneficial insects. And here's part of the instructions for building an insect hotel. So you can see there are nice detailed photos that correspond with the step-by-step instructions. My goal was to make sure it made sense and that it flowed well. So I hope that you'll agree with me. So what do you think? It looks pretty useful, doesn't it? So at the beginning of this video, I mentioned that I had an exciting announcement, and this is it. Starting today, January 1st, 2021, there is a special incentive for you to pre-order your copy of the book. You will get bonus content that is not in the book, and it's my best tips for growing vegetables. This is something that you won't find anywhere else, and all you have to do is pre-order the book, email me, susan@susansinthegarden.com, and send me a copy of your confirmation of the order, and I will send you the bonus content. So I hope you're excited about the book coming out and excited about the bonus content. Thanks so much for watching today and for pre-ordering. I really appreciate it. I know a lot of you have told me you're very excited about the book, and that makes me feel good. I'll see you next week.